Strange paranormal mysteries such as terrifying hauntings, extraterrestrial encounters, and other unexplained events are often written about by the world's best fictional authors. But these events aren't just the fanciful imaginations of writers, as they occur in real life on a daily basis, often leaving the individuals who experience them traumatized and unable to explain how these events came about. Number 5. On the grounds of the La Posada Hotel, located in Santa Fe, New Mexico, sits one of the nation's most haunted locations known as the Staub House. The building was constructed by Abraham Staub, who amassed his fortune as a major U.S. Army supply contractor during the Civil War. The house, which was a gift to his wife, Julia, was decorated with luxurious European furniture and materials, serving as a home for the couple and their 6 children. The 3rd floor of the building was used as a ballroom, which became a well-known social entertainment spot for the Santa Fe socialites. But tragedy befell the family when their 7th child passed away shortly after birth, and Julia found it hard to recover. Her hair prematurely started to turn white, and she retreated to her room for much of the rest of her life until she passed away in 1896. In 1930, the house was bought and converted into a hotel. Over the years, it's been visited by prominent members of the arts community, as well as other well-known personalities. But another personality is said to still dwell there, the spirit of Julia Staub. In 1979, she was spotted near the fireplace by an employee who described her as a beautifully dressed, translucent woman. A security guard also reported seeing the same woman and became so frightened that he ran from the property. More recently, a bartender reported that on one evening, glasses started flying off of the shelves and smashed on the floor. On the same night, a waitress explained that it felt as if someone was pushing the trays that she was carrying up and out of her hands as she kept dropping them. Other visitors have experienced strange and unexplained sounds around the property, and staff as well as paranormal investigators have seen Julia's reflection in mirrors and windows throughout the house. A bellhop has also heard a voice coming from room 156 when it was supposed to be empty, and when it was checked, the windows were locked from the inside, but no one was present. Number 4. On the 1st of September 1989, the Reed family from Massachusetts experienced a paranormal event at around 8:30 p.m. while they were driving to their home. In the car were Tom Reed, his younger brother Matthew, his grandmother who was sitting in the car's passenger seat, and his mother, Nancy, who was driving the car at the time. As they headed home, Nancy decided to take a shortcut over the covered Sheffield Bridge, and as they passed over it, they noticed lights that seemed to be shining up from under the bridge's boards. When they emerged on the other side of the bridge, they saw a sphere of white light ascending about 2 stories into the sky. They then noticed that it was firing off laser-like lights from one side of the sphere to the other. The light then retreated back into the sphere, which moved into the nearby tree line, heading in the same direction as the family. Matthew noticed that a second sphere had appeared to the right of the car, and it appeared as though it was sitting underwater. They then started feeling strange, as if they themselves were underwater, and noticed that everything around them had gone eerily quiet. That's when they witnessed a turtle shell-shaped object hovering above the field to the left of their car. The 2 spheres joined the disc-shaped object, forming a triangle with the family's car in the center. Suddenly, the car was flooded with a bright light, and the frogs and crickets on the riverbanks suddenly became impossibly loud. The next 3 hours all but disappeared from their memories. They would later vaguely recall seeing a building that resembled an airplane hangar, and when they finally came to, Nancy and her mother had switched places in the car. The car was no longer running, and its lights had been turned off as well. About 40 residents of Berkshire County reported seeing the same strange object, and in February of 2015, the Great Barrington Historical Society and Museum confirmed that the sighting and the Reeds case was officially inducted into US history. Number 3. In 1978, a scary paranormal mystery unfolded in the town of Horicon, Wisconsin, when Alan and Debbie Tallman moved a bunk bed that they had bought from a secondhand store into their home, which was located on Larrabee Street. Almost immediately after placing the bed in their house, unexplained events started to happen. The family's radio would switch on and off on its own, and their children reported seeing an ugly old woman in their room. They described her as having long black hair and that she glowed as if she was on fire. They also experienced disembodied voices throughout the house, saw a rocking chair moving by itself, and witnessed doors opening and slamming shut without anyone being near them. They decided to contact their pastor, who told them that he felt an evil presence in the house, but despite his blessing of the building, the paranormal activity continued. Realizing that his children were frightened, Alan decided to challenge the entity and yelled out, "Pick on me, leave my children alone." And the following day, his challenge was accepted. From the garage, he heard a voice say, "Come here," and when he went to investigate, he was shocked at what he saw. Inside the garage, there was a fire-like glow, and he noticed 2 red eyes staring straight at him through the windows on the garage door. That night, while he was in bed, he saw a fog rise up from the bedroom floor. The fog eventually transformed into more of the flames, but this time he was being watched by green eyes, and he heard a voice telling him that he was going to be harmed. A few nights later, a family member was staying in the house helping Debbie and the children while Alan was at work. They weren't a believer in the paranormal, but soon changed their mind when they saw a figure materialize in front of them as they were putting the children to bed for the night. That same night, the family decided that they had had enough and they fled from the house forever, and the bunk bed was buried in a landfill. The house still stands on Larrabee Street, despite threats from locals who want to burn it down. And since the bunk bed was removed, subsequent owners have reported that they haven't experienced any paranormal activity. Number 2. 600 Geiger Grade Road, located in Fish Springs, Nevada, is known by the locals as a hotbed of paranormal activity, thanks to the ghosts that are said to dwell within its halls. At first, the house was situated in Virginia City near the cemetery, but it was ultimately moved to Fish Springs. The former residents of the house are not well documented, but what is known by the small community is that the building, which was constructed around 1860, is very haunted. Despite rumors of the spirits that reside in the house, a woman named Susie Kelsey fell in love with it in 1971, and she and her husband Jim decided to buy it. As soon as they moved into their new home, the couple started noticing strange things happening, such as tools mysteriously disappearing, strange noises echoing through the rooms, and the thermostat turning up to 95 degrees without anyone touching it. They also noticed that there seemed to be a dark presence in the house, which left them feeling uneasy, and they started to suspect that the entity was directing its attention at their daughter, Jennifer. She told her parents that she often saw the spirit in her room and described it as a tall man with a mustache. One night, she woke to find that her bed was levitating, and she witnessed the ghost of a small boy standing by her side, accompanied by a larger spirit that they'd come to call Samuel, who had a concerned expression on his face. He then started appearing in other areas of the house, and he was often seen in the kitchen before quickly vanishing into thin air. The paranormal activity regularly occurred in the house until the 1980s, and they decided to contact a psychic called Dan Martin on the advice of one of Susie's coworkers. Martin claimed that Samuel was there to protect Jennifer, and when he asked the spirit to stop scaring her, the family noticed that the house became much calmer. Samuel did, however, still make his presence known through disembodied voices that could be heard from time to time, but he was seen far less often. They would still hear his footsteps ring out through the house as they got into bed, keeping Susie awake most nights, When the family decided to move to Gardnerville, Nevada, they were shocked to find that Samuel had moved with them when they captured his image in a mirror in their new home. Number 1. Customs officials in Tokyo were left baffled and believed that they were in the midst of an unsolved paranormal mystery when a smartly dressed man approached them after his flight and produced a passport that no one had seen before. The man, described as a Frenchman with a beard who spoke many different languages including Japanese, claimed that it was his 3rd visit to Japan, and when he was quizzed as to where he came from, he answered that he was from a country called Taured. He was asked to produce his passport, which he did, and when officials studied it, they found that it had indeed been issued in Taured, and it seemed to be authentic, but they had never heard of the country. He was asked to show them the country on a map, and he immediately pointed to the area occupied by the Principality of Andorra on the border between France and Spain. He couldn't understand why his country's name was different on the map, and he explained that Taured had been in existence for over 1,000 years. A long argument broke out between the man and the customs officials, and try as they may, they were unable to convince him that he was mistaken. He told them the name of the company that he worked for, and when it was checked, it was found that it did exist, but that it was located in Tokyo. When he revealed the name of the hotel where he had stayed, it was also found to exist, but no booking had been made under his name. The man was taken into custody for further questioning, as it was thought that he might be a criminal. His documents and personal belongings were confiscated, and he was put up in a nearby hotel while the investigation continued. 2 guards were placed at his door to ensure that he wouldn't escape, but when the door was opened the next morning, he had disappeared. To the surprise of the investigators, his documents that had been confiscated had also mysteriously vanished, and a search was launched to find him. But despite their best efforts, he was never seen again. Many people believe that the man was indeed from Taured, but that it exists in an alternate universe and that he had somehow mistakenly entered into ours. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knots, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.